one of the biggest rappers in the game was trying to talk to me, and I was like, I gotta go pick up my daughter from school. And he was like, are you gonna come back tomorrow? And my friends are like, bitch, like I can't even find a man at the laundromat and such and such. And I was like, yeah, nah, that's not my speed.
Oh my God, we're so excited you're here. You have no idea. Like Girl Crush Central.
Yeah.
We're both Dominican, so there's a lot of Dominican in the room. She looks German, so it's fine.
I know every time, I grew up in Miami, so every time there was a white Dominican around, they'd be like, El Cibao. And I'm like, you guys are so... They got white ones in other parts of the Dominican Republic.
We have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw your special last night.
Oh, good.
We both cried.
That hit home. Like, I can't even tell you.
Thank you. My goal was, I'm going to be honest. Beyonce inspired me with her Black is King. And I was like, I want to do something in my special where I wanted to hire Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. So all of the crews and staff, because they wanted, HBO Max wanted to bring their own people. And I was like, no. So every single person that worked on my production in Puerto Rico was from there, and everybody in the Dominican Republic was for there. Because I was like, I talk about Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, so they got to benefit from it. It can't just be... And also the comedians, because we could talk about it on the podcast, but women started doing stand-up in the Dominican Republic 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like... I have to use this to be able to amplify that. So it means a lot to me because it was, I grew up with my Puerto Rican family, and I kept hearing a lot of bad shit about Dominicans, and that was fucking with my self-esteem.
Yeah. And vice versa. It depends what house you're in.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones. It depends what house you're in.
And there's still kind of like this rivalry, but
it's stupid.
And you talk about it where this other woman, this white one, was telling you, but you're the same.
She was on our production. She was like, what's the difference?
It's true though.
And I was like breaking down the differences, and she was like, y'all, okay. It was
like, we eat more black beans, they eat more red beans. Yeah, but it's beans. So
no,
like, what are you doing with this?
Hysterical. And then she ate at both places, and the Puerto Ricans and the Dominican were like, well, which food did you like better? She was like, it was kind of like, she was like, y'all fry bananas,
right?
Like, and I'm like, it's us, it's precious to us,
yes,
culturally, because in all fairness, we have to hold on to whatever cultural stuff we have because we've been stripped of so much.
Of course.
But we just got to stop being silly with each other.
I know. I've always felt that we are the same. So like we eat the same food. We look the same. It's a 30-minute flight from Santo Domingo to San Juan. Yeah. Literally 30 minutes. We sound different, the dialects. We say, los dominicanos say que los puertorriqueños cantan. Puerto Ricans say that que tenemos un cantadito. But that's like normal. But
los dos cantan y los cubanos gritan.
It's so true.
Did we start already?
We're starting.
Awesome.
I love that you had my friend Cristian Mercado as one of your directors. Like, it's just everything about your special. Okay, so Aida special premieres November 4th. Don't miss it on HBO Max. To me, it struck such a strong chord. I could relate so much with your family situation, the differences between, Puerto Rican and Dominicans, and then your relationship with your dad. That's when I lost it. So
me too. Me too. I hadn't seen him that was the first time I had seen him in person in many years. I'm not gonna lie to you. We don't know how many years because hay tantas mentiras, right. Because everybody's ashamed of the situation, so you never get the whole story, right? Which many of us can relate to. So I don't know, but I lived in the Dominican Republic. I never lived in Puerto Rico. I lived in the Dominican Republic. I lived in La Zona Colonial. These two ladies that were that I visited when I was there, they took care of me and my mother. My mom was really young when she had me. When my grandmother would throw us out of the house, we would go live with these people. But it was a homecoming for me because
Right.
even though that is the case, I don't remember it because I was a baby. I was
Right.
little. And so my whole existence was this very Puerto Rican existence, which I love and adore my Puerto Rican family. But I was still feeling like something was missing.
Yeah.
I really love that you said homecoming at the beginning because for me, it's also, I grew up in the Dominican Republic, but I didn't know my dad until I was 9. Or so I thought. And then I found pictures and I was like, wait, I guess I did know him. But it's this weird reckoning of, wait, this is also part of me. And as much as I don't think or it's conscious to me, this really formed me, right? Like
Yeah.
this
Oh,
made
of
me who I
course.
am and a lot of the trauma and whatever you want to call it,
See.
which makes us funny. You know, like we'll take the trauma because it led to how do we deal with the trauma, right? In your case, is writing really funny material. So like one of my favorite lines was when you said he was so generous. He gave every one of us a mother.
Oh, you know what's funny? And I had to come. It's really, so many of us have felt that way. I have 2 friends who are comedians who have shared that same exact sentiment on stage, Byron Bowers and Tiffany Haddish. And so I had to call them because I was like, yo, did I steal your joke? Like, 'cause I was like,
I feel like I heard this.
Yeah, because I feel like this is what I was feeling in that moment. And it wasn't conscious. And it was like, we've all felt this way about our fathers. And culturally, it is a reality, not a stereotype.
Yeah.
But what's underneath it is what we never talk about because it's so easy to just make the joke about what it is instead of understanding that during slavery, the fathers were taken away from the families. And we have a history of slavery in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And when we talk about colonization and the way that our families were ripped apart by the Spaniards, we have to understand that these things that are happening are the post effects of all of that trauma that happened on our, and our indigenous people, our Arawak and Taínos from the islands.
Yeah.
And so we just joke about it now and people are like, oh, that's a stereotype. And I'm like, no, it's a cultural reality that we don't want to face sometimes because it's painful. But if we are able to talk about what's underneath it, then we can really start dealing with it because that's the reason why that happens. And for my father and me, it was, it was a very, very hard, a very harsh breakup. My mom was really, really young. And, when my mother and my father broke up, my mother escaped from the Dominican Republic with me. And it was like, she was so espantada. She was so shocked by the whole situation that she was like, I don't ever want you to be around these people again. Right. And her, the pain from that, it just manifested into this whole reality of me not knowing who my father was, not knowing parts of me.
Yeah. Right. And it's funny how you say that we have to piece things together because in Latin culture, my mom would never sit down and be like, hey, so I had you when I was 19 and, know, and like I met your dad and we just kind of had like a weekend. She'll never say anything like that.
Conversations that we never have. Like what you were having sex when you were 15.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And then my dad's never going to be like, well, this is a situation. So you kind of have to talk to Tia and the other uncle and they'll be like, hey, so what do you know? What do you know? Okay. So we put it together and then like half of this is actually true. So piecing together your past is also part of like the healing
self-discovery.
process.
Yeah, I didn't have any pictures of myself as a child, as a baby. My father had all of the pictures. He held them hostage because that's all that he had. So that beach that we went to, ¿cómo se llama? Virria? No, ¿dónde están los tiburones ahora?
It's in the capital.
Sí.
That is
Guivia.
Yes.
I used to go to that beach every day with my dad when I was a little baby. He used to take me to that beach every day. That's why we went back. And it's funny that I was there and I just settled right in. Like even though I felt like a stranger because I just felt and I just looked around and I was like, oh, this is me too.
Well, they say the body keeps a score. It's not just the pain. The body also keeps a score of like the really beautiful times. So I think sometimes like you walk into a space and you feel this peace. I just went back to Dominican Republic after 15 years. And it was like, it was none of the places that I could remember logically, but like you went in and then your body kind of like eases in.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And
were you nervous to perform? Because I saw that you were performing for a Dominican crowd. I mean, I feel that even with the language barrier, people were having a blast with you.
Yeah, we had a good time. I get nervous before every show.
Oh.
So it's been happening since I started. I asked Chris Rock one time, he was at the Laugh Factory because he was pacing, because he paces back and forth before he went on stage. And asked him if he was nervous. And he told me that he always gets nervous. And he was like, when you stop getting nervous, quit.
Right.
Like, so of course I was nervous because there was so much stuff happening at that moment. In addition to me doing stand-up in the Dominican Republic in Spanish. My father was there seeing me perform for the first time. I had just met him 2 days prior. I had my siblings there.
Your kids were there.
Yeah.
Kids,
COVID was happening. So there was a curfew. We had to get people out of there by 6.
Oh, Dominicans were real strict with the curfew.
Yeah, there was so because everybody, my sister, I have 2 sisters that don't live in Santo Domingo. One of them lives in Bávaro, and the other one lives in Punta Cana.
That's like far.
So they
I
had to get them hotel rooms so that they could spend the night because they couldn't be out past 9 o'clock. But the curfews in the different regions were different.
Yeah.
So there was all of that stuff happening. I have these new comedians. I flipped the script because I was supposed to headline the show. And instead, I decided to host it so I can share the time with those comics.
So dope.
So I was like, all of that was going on. People were scrambling. They're like, wait, what is she doing? I'm like, oh, I decided to host this one. And then they were like, what? And then I was like, yeah, meet these people. And Elias made it possible. He helped me so much with the comedians and Randy Holguin that, they do the comedy show in the Dominican Republic. And they helped me. So we were able to.
Was it in English or in Spanish?
So the show was in Spanish, and Elias did his set in Spanish and in English. He did half and half because they knew that this was going to air for HBO Max. So we wanted to make sure we had some footage of someone doing stand-up in English there. But we just found out, luckily, that this is also going to be released for HBO Max Latino America.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
So
congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a big accomplishment. First, being Latina. I don't, to be honest, I don't know much about Latina comedians. Y todavía más allá, Dominican, Puerto Rican, this is like, you're a real trailblazer, Aida.
I hope so. That's the goal. The goal is to, when I think about us and I think about especially Latinos, Latinx, Latinx people, where we are right now, nosotros siempre estamos peleando.
Yep.
But we're the first ones to take each other down.
Yes.
And my goal is to show that there's room. Like, yo no tengo lo que está para ti, nadie te lo quita. Like, I'm not nervous about other Latinas. I want to see these women do stand-up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so funny because my competition isn't women. It's other comedians who are men. Where I stand in comedy, headlining, like, clubs, throughout the country, doing specials on Netflix and HBO. My competitors are actually, the standard is a white guy. So I'm not really, and not that I'm not feel threatened by it, but I'm not worried about it. But I welcome it. I would like to see other perspectives because we need people to show up and really express how we are not a monolith. Like that. Even like people say Latinos are not a monolith. Puerto Ricans are not a monolith.
Caribbean.
Dominicans, Venezolanos, like la gente de Colombia, los panameños, los de Ecuador, like people that don't get the glory that you never hear about because they're not a popular group in this country. We're not monolithic. We have Asian people that are Latinos. We have Black people. We have our indigenous people. They have Black people in Mexico. Like, it is so fascinating. Yeah. So why it's been hidden and been silenced for so long is just, I guess, a part of the reason that, they keep us back is because if you don't tell us who we are, we can't show up in our fullness. But for me, when it comes to comedy, I'm excited about Sasha Mesti. That's my baby.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you're so generous. So I went to the, as you know, to the Morir Soñando show. I didn't know that you were going to be there. And so I just, out of nowhere, I see you standing next to him. I'm like, Aida?
Yes.
Right? I was like, oh my God. I got so excited. And then you go on stage and literally I spat my drink.
Oh.
Desde que tú te subiste. It was so.
We had fun.
Yes, but just to see that, ese nivel de solidaridad, so supporting new talent, supporting Sasha, all those comics that were there.
Well, Gadiel del Orbe and Sasha Messi are my comedy proteges.
He was here. He was gushing about you the whole time.
Those are my two comedy babes. Like I am working with them. I'm hard on them, but I want to see them because I know there's something about both of them. And, the Dominican Republic deserves to have a voice in mainstream comedy, So does everybody
There have been the biggest clowns. Like, you just need any person tells you the Dominican friend they have is the biggest clown. I think it's such a cultural thing for Dominicans being the clown of any space. And they have the rhythm and they have the thing. So it's you're right. Like, the sense of stand-up comedy, the Dominicans haven't had a force in it yet. Like, it's so strange to me. Latinos in general, we are the funniest people in the room. People want to have us around. You have a Latino, you have a party. So, like, it's funny to me that stand-up is not more ruled by Dominicans.
No, and
Latinos in general.
There's some Orlando Leyva is really funny. And, there's a comedian named Roberto Vanderpool. He's been around Dominican, for many years, Afro-Latino, and he's been in the game for a long time. But we have to start showing up for each other, right? We have to stop. We have to learn how to have conversations with each other, the hard conversations without taking each other down, right? Because that's the thing that we do. And, I don't participate in that. The one thing that I wanted to do was, in the documentary portion of my special, was really show the spectrum of what our people are. Palos and Bomba are in there because nosotros venimos de los africanos, pero mi mamá le encanta los palos. Like that was my mom's thing, always been. And I was like, I wanted to honor my mother because, there's a lot of pain with the Dominican Republic, but my mother loved the Dominican Republic. The people treated her well. Outside of my father's family,
right?
La trataron muy bien, y she feels a kinship with the Dominican Republic, and I wouldn't know what palos are if it wasn't for my mother. Right? Johnny Ventura, you see
it opened, yes.
It took me, I had to work to get that cleared, but he had just passed away, and Johnny Ventura is at the epicenter of every celebration of my family. Pata con Pisao is the song where by that time everybody's drunk and everybody's in the middle of the dance floor.
And every Christmas, huh?
Every Christmas. And he had just passed away. And I was like, oh no, we have to honor him, you know? Because it was so funny. Like, even though I grew up with this really Puerto Rican family, there was so much Dominican influence and everything. I love Dominican breakfast.
Oh my God. El mangú?
Sí, el mangú.
Girl.
To eat el queso blanco, even to eat fish in the morning was very Dominican of me.
We eat normal meals like in the morning.
Because Puerto Ricans don't, right? And so siempre I would hear them say, es que nace, eso está en la sangre. Like, you can't.
No se puede negar.
Y cuando yo bailo merengue, bailo como una dominicana y decía.
Ahí te sale el dominicano.
Sí, like they would be like, ¿quién le enseñó eso?
The little jump.
And I always do that because I used to watch like, it's funny that my father told me that.
And you guys look alike.
Oh,
yes,
you do. I look like my dad.
Yes.
It's like, wait a minute.
Well, by the way, he's woke now, which I found that very interesting.
See, he has a whole bolero album of about the climate and the
stuff.
See,
you were like, let me
singing
throw more straws.
About the climate and the turtles, and
he's got a whole album. He's, my father's Hindu. He's not Christian. He's Hindu, and he's my siblings all have Hindu names. My brother's Krishna. Mi hermana se llama Radharani. Una que se llama Lakshmi. La otra que se llama Mariana Chandra.
Pero no lo quiere porque that's so you can get teased in DR all day long.
He's so proud of that. And then he's woke. He's a pescatarian. He doesn't eat meat. But I'm all of those things.
Right,
so
right.
It was so weird and he writes, he comes out in music, mine in jokes, and then I write, scripts and stuff. But I was just like, oh wow, this is me. Like I've been looking for me this whole time, and I finally found
that
me.
mirror. Yeah.
It was really interesting. He's so funny. But yeah, I had these sisters and I had these nieces and nephews that I fell in love with, that I talk to all the time. We communicate, and I can't wait to get back to see them. I was very happy that when they cut the trailer, they put one of my nieces in it.
Oh, nice.
Mijael and Azul, they son las sobrinas que conocí que cuando estuve allá, pero it was really interesting to see, because it was just like, it was foreign and still.
Don't you walk away with so much love, like so full of love, like, oh man, I had access to all this love in my life, but look, there's so much more.
Yeah, and you could see it through the special, how people were excited to see you, excited to meet you. And I think also that's our nature, los dominicanos, that we're so warm and welcoming.
Oh yeah.
Y todo eso se transmitió en your special.
Oh no, cuando fui a la cafetería, ese señor me trató a mí como si yo fuera su familia. Like they were just like, sit down, cousin.
They probably didn't want you to pay, by the way.
No diga nada. Siéntate.
Me trataron muy bien. Los señores que estaban afuera jugando dominó, when I came outside and I was like talking to one of them, and I was like, I had been crying. I was all swollen and puffy. And I was like, oh, I was like, me siento tan fea. Like, and he was like, aquí no hay dominicano feo. Like, eso no existe.
I mean, our self-esteem, we got to give it to him.
But he was like, eso es, qué mujer más bella.
Diablo, qué mujerón.
Esa pierna, esos mulazos.
Así me gustan grande para que me den all day long.
It was like, I was just like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah. Self-esteem? Okay. What self-esteem?
So we have to go, next time you go to the DR, please let me know.
You sent me the spots.
Oh, that's right.
I had my assistant looking up all those spots already, because I was like, I'm going. I am going.
What do your kids think of you being a stand-up comic? Like, what do you think about that?
The funny thing is, so I have my kids young. So my kids and I grew up together, right?
Right. You talk about that.
Who's racing who?
It was, but it's really like interesting, because I remember asking my son questions sometimes, porque I got married to my first boyfriend, the father of my children. I had a very, very different life before I started doing stand-up. And it was very traditional, alma de casa. I was media come mierda, like me tenía boba. Like, it's
we live and learn.
Yeah, it was so the comedy. Anything that I said I wanted to do, my kids were like, let's do it. Because to them, it was like, look at
we're friends.
Yeah, like they were like, yo, let's go. And so they've always been very supportive. But I don't ever talk about family, anybody in my family. The only person, ironically, who I did not ask permission was my father. Like everybody else, I felt like he owed me this. Right? But everybody else, any joke that I've ever made about anybody in my family, my siblings, my children, my mom, I've always cleared it with them before I made it, and made sure that they were okay with it. And everybody's always been like, dale. And I was like, and I'm like, sign right here though.
Just in case. Right.
Because George Lopez got sued by his grandma, I think, by his family. So I was like,
no.
Yeah, I think he got sued by somebody in his family.
Well, he got sued. I mean, George Lopez is always getting sued, so that's not a strange thing.
I know.
Talking about comedic craziness, any like comedian feuds and beefs that we can hear about lately? There's so many. I feel like every time I turn on the TV, it's someone's siding with someone else.
Well, Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle, and I feel like
Dave
Chappelle, like Detroit, he shot his special in Detroit, and Detroit has the shirt that say Detroit versus everybody. I feel like they should change it to Chappelle versus everybody.
Seriously.
I never know what's going on.
Right.
On the Chappelle topic, what do you think of this whole thing that's happening?
Ooh, that's one that everybody keeps telling. The publicists always tell us to stay away from.
Yeah.
Okay.
But listen. I will. It's so complicated because I can see all the perspectives,
Right.
right? And it's a very complicated place to be in when you are a stand-up comedian, because the minute you condone censoring somebody else,
Right.
it's waiting right around the corner for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm sure that I have said things that were problematic, and I haven't reached the level of fame where they started pulling that out yet.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? So I just don't know. I was around Dave Chappelle. I went to his camp. He was very, very kind to me. He treated me very well. He was very nice to me. I don't think that his messaging is that of hate, but I also think that it is important to listen to people who
Yes.
are marginalized. And when it comes to, trans and queer people, when we talk about them and we erase that fact that many of them are Black and brown, when we're having these conversations, as if they don't belong to the groups of Black and brown, is problematic, because they have to deal with the bigotry for being Black, and then they have to deal with the homophobia and the transphobia. And I think it's important to hold the space for people who are queer and trans. And I hope that, he said he was willing to have a conversation. So I hope that they find some solution, and I find that an opportunity for growth, because I don't want to hear about trans people getting killed,
No, of course
And
not.
coming from, honestly, coming from being Puerto Rican and Dominican, we have such a the femicide rate is really up in both countries.
Yes.
Also, trans women are being murdered at an alarming rate as well, and there's a lot of homophobia. We know that the young singer in Puerto Rico who was murdered,
Yes.
that had some homophobic roots, Kevin, and he was 21 years old, I think. So I think we got to confront those issues in our community, because I think that the toxic masculinity that lives in Puerto Rico and in the Dominican Republic is real.
Oh, yeah.
And even though these are the phrases that people don't want to hear because it comes with cancel culture and wokeness, it's actually very real. Women are getting killed. Gay people are being murdered. Trans women are being murdered. And it is because men are insecure, and they are being raised to believe that they can't express their emotions, that they can't show any vulnerability, and that's very harmful to our communities, and we have to confront that.
And we already in our community have a lot of censorship, especially women.
Oh,
the
man.
way you dress, I mean, anything. Look what's going on with Tokisha right now, a big scandal. I mean, it's just it's never ending with women. And adding to that, being in the gay and lesbian community, the queer community, and trans, and it's never ending. So
we haven't. And it's funny is you listen to these guys, they talk about all this shit. They got their eyebrows waxed.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got bow ties.
No hair on their
all
legs,
these
shaved
reggaetoneros.
legs.
And you're like, pues tanta mierda que
Y
están
los
hablando.
dientes, by the way, they all go to the same
Dentist.
dentist.
Chiclets. I call them the chiclets.
Oh my God, the veneers.
It's funny because you said something really important. I think Dominican especially is that don't ask, don't tell policy with the gay culture. It's like the mother's like, oh, no, mi hijo. Like, señora, él tiene una vestido puesto. Like, what are you talking about?
And all the sayings. They say, Gabriel and I were laughing because I'm not going to say who, but somebody that we know was like, a un hombre al año no hace daño.
Yes.
I'm not gay, but $20 is $20 kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, there's a joke about that. Un hombre al año no hace daño. Un hombre al mes, buena costumbre es. Un hombre al día, pero un hombre todos los días, you know what they say after, una mariconería.
Oh,
like that's the joke.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of, and the thing is that we don't confront it, and and it just continues to fester. And then you get these young people who are angry. They got all this testosterone. They don't know what to do with it, and now they're violent. And they want to attack women. They want to attack trans people. They want to attack queer people. We just not talking about it. We got to talk about it because the reality of it is that gay people, queer people, trans people, LGBTQIA plus people are not getting on boats and moving to an island by themselves. So we got to learn to live with each other, and we have to learn to value their lives.
Absolutely.
If you don't have to like it, you don't have to respect it. I mean, you don't have to approve of it, but you got to respect human life.
Period.
And talking about your HBO special, Fighting
HBO
Words.
Max.
HBO Max, that's right. HBO Max special. Pa'lante, right?
Yeah. No, it's HBO Max.
But you also have, you're developing also with HBO Max, a scripted series.
Yes.
About your life. That's fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's based on my life after my divorce, and it's really a story of how I got where I got and everything that happened to get me there. And it's actually a script that I'm really in love with. Anybody who's smart would make that into a TV show, because it's actually a show about people who happen to be Latin and Latinos instead of a Latino show. It just shows us in our fullness and our humanity, and it shows us in our spectrum and our diversity and how we show up in different spaces in different ways.
The human experience just happens to be Latino,
and it's not it's really a story that a lot of people can relate to. It's not just about being Latina. It's about being a mother, being a woman, my dating life. Like, it talks about all of those
how great
things.
dating is, because dating is so great.
What's funny is that I've been in these like long relationships. Like, me han tenido amarrada tantos años. Like, I can never just be. I've never dated somebody.
You don't have a rotation?
No, I never.
You don't know about a rotation?
I never had a rotation.
We have rotations. You got to have 3 in a row, and then one goes away, and you got to.
Oh wow!
You got
to school me.
Yeah.
Yo, me and my sister were talking the other day. Nos hicieron tanto daño. Tanto daño. Yo le digo a mi mamá, nos hicieron tanto daño porque no son putas. Por eso, es daño. And I was like, this lady will never understand. But it's been an interesting journey for me, because I've always been in a relationship, but I was in a very long relationship, and then I got divorced, and then I was in another a couple of years later in another long relationship. I was in a relationship with an actor.
Oh, my
God.
God.
Tú sabes. And then,
narcissism? What are you saying?
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding.
Insecurities 24/7. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth. So just, it's just been really, it's like I've always stood in this place where I've never felt like, oh my God, I'm never going to have a man. Because I was raised to believe that that's an essential part of your life, right? And I had to deconstruct that in my mind and say, hey, it's okay to be single. And that's not a bad word, because these people in your community are going to be like, ¿Qué te pasa? Like, I actually have excelled being single. And yeah, I've been the most successful because I've been able to just focus on this part of my life. Not because I don't need a man or because I'm not, but it's just been a level of focus that I've never had, because I've always taken care of everybody. I raised my siblings, and then I raised my kids. And so it's just been very interesting. And so talking about it with respect to, like, I have friends who also have been single moms, right? And that they would be like, oh, it's so hard. And then I'm at the gym, and this, like, one of the biggest rappers in the game was trying to talk to me. And I was like, I got to go pick up my daughter from school. And he was like, are you going to come back tomorrow? And my friends are like, bitch, like, I can't meet
Take one for the team.
No, yeah, nah. But I'll tell you off, but not. My friends were like, yo, like, I can't even find a man at the laundromat and such. And I was like, yeah, nah, that's not my speed. I can't have that around my kids.
But that's why I feel like when you have that level of like, oh, I don't need anyone, I'm fulfilled by myself, like, then they go and they get stuck to you, Like, if you're in an energy where like, I need to date, I need to find someone, they just keep running away.
Or it's either that, or like you meet someone that you like and suddenly they're coming out of the woodworks. They're todos detrás de ti.
Sí.
Right?
Yeah, no. You know what? I've been out of a relationship now for a little bit, and I will tell you that even as I get older, like, the women in my family, like, my mom couldn't walk down the street. My mom was such a beautiful woman that I remember being so frustrated going out in public, because I hated when men would, they would whistle at my mother, or it would just make me feel so like I hated it. I just really hated it. And so now I'm in this space where I'm like, I don't meet people like in the most it's always in the weirdest ways. Like I never was looking for this. Like every relationship that I've been in, I was not looking for it. I was minding my own business and
just trying to buy apples at the grocery store. Why are you
trying to build an empire? Right. And this man comes out of nowhere and was like, let me disrupt your life for a couple of years, right? So I feel now that like I'm where I am now, I'm like, even my friends are like, oh man, I'm on Hinge. I got on Hinge for 2 days. Right. And I got right up off that bitch because I was like, looking at the, it's funny. Like I was on a dating app and this guy was like, oh, I want to write some jokes for you.
Oh God. What? No.
Yeah, and I was like,
delete it immediately.
He was probably funny looking too.
He was so cocky though. The fact that you thought you could write a joke for a professional comedian, like you don't realize who you're talking to.
No.
Like, I write jokes for other comedians that you don't even know I'm writing. And I was like, you going to write a joke for me? You can't even write a profile.
Yeah.
Delete.
The grammar's incorrect. Your punctuation's poor. Your choice of words. This is boring.
Right. Like, and she's a Virgo. Okay. Yeah, there it comes out right there.
Yeah. I'm reading like that. I'm like, what would make you think this would compel anybody to say, I want to go out with you?
And they're lying about their height anyway. They're always like, it's like the 2-inch margin. If they say
why is everybody on Hinge 5'11"?
Yeah, right. Which means 5'9". By the way, that's how that measures
every
up.
single one of them.
Or like Tom Cruise, 5'6", right? In the Apple box.
And they're all the CEO of self-employed.
Their own company. Which means unemployed.
Also, like the new thing that I noticed because I am on Hinge is that they're all allosexual. I was like, what is allosexual? I don't know. I have no idea. I like Googled it and it was like in love with love or something like that.
Oh, that means he's going to cheat on you.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right. And you talk about that also on your special with your niece.
Mm-hmm. She's pansexual.
Yes.
She's pansexual.
She's just a hoe, right?
She was having the time of her life. I was like, really? What?
She's living her best
sexual time.
Yeah. I'm just so tired though for like, we got 20 minutes.
It's so funny to listen to them educate me and sit there and say, what? Okay. And that's okay.
That's what we're doing now?
Because we were taught so.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, para el gusto se hicieron
los colores. Exactly. Yeah, we come up from a generation where still religion is part of the education. La mujer tiene que ser,
the shame. It was always funny to me how we had to be virgins, but the men were never virgins. And I'm like, well, who are they having sex with?
Exactly.
Come bring your holy ass over here so I can give you this STD, girl. You're like, okay,
all day. All day. I never understood that. And
the minute you lose your virginity, your value goes down.
Oh, yeah. They took you out of the dealership.
Yeah. Who's going to want you? I'm like, all of them. What are you talking about?
Right.
Who have you ever met that's been like,
I'm sorry, No, thanks.
And you also have an animated series that you're developing.
Oh, with ITV Studios.
Yes, please tell us about
that. A lot. I can't get into the specifics of it, but it would be the closest thing of my version to a South Park with Latinos.
Oh, hell yes.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I want to make fun of us.
Is that a South Park, Washington Heights? I'm kidding.
Sí. Oye, no. Ni me diga ese nombre ahora mismo.
So you truly are building an empire.
I'm working on it. I hope so. That's what I'd like to do. I want to... when people ask me like what kind of career I want to have, like I think about people like Issa Rae and Mindy Kaling and Tina Fey.
Yeah,
I don't have to be in everything. I want to make other people stars. I want to create properties where I can, show other people's talents. I want to discover other comedians. I want to go around the world, Latin America, and discover talent there. I want to do stuff like that. I want to write and produce. I'm going to direct some comedy specials in the middle of next year. Because I want to show other talent. I really want to showcase other talent, and I want to do other stuff. I'm an actor. Like I came here to be an actor. I didn't come here to be a stand-up comedian. I just became a stand-up comedian along the way. I want to make movies and in these TV shows, and I have a lot of projects that I'm working on that don't even have anything to do with me. It's like really showcasing other talent.
Quick question for you. Did you ever have any stand-up comics or comics in general that inspired you when you were growing up? You were like, I saw that
Richard
person.
Pryor.
Yeah.
Right.
Richard Pryor,
The best.
Johnny Carson, George Carlin. Those are my favorites. Those are the best comedians to me that ever lived. No disrespect to anybody who's alive and thinks that
they were trailblazers in every single sense.
But it just, just the fact that there was a level of empathy in their comedy that I think not that you have to self-deprecate, but there's this narcissism in comedy now because we have so much exposure, where those people really concentrated on the craft and making sure that they were honoring the art of stand-up. And so I think that those people really, ranked to me. I love Lucille Ball was like, in terms of funny, she was like the epitome of what funny was to me. So to be able to take that and marry it to the element of stand-up was something that I really was fascinated by. And then I had to come to terms with who I am in stand-up and that I'm not a slapsticky comic and I'm not,
Were you trying to do that at first, like when you're trying to find your groove?
No, because it's just not my personality. So as much as I wanted it internally, my funny is it's a very heady funny. Like it's just like
social commentary. Like your social commentary is always, and that's what's funny. What's funny, what the funniest thing is what connects, and what connects with like, especially with people like us, where it's like, of course, I can see you having that conversation with my grandmother and all this kind of stuff. But like that's why it hits.
Yeah.
And another thing that I was gonna say is that tú eres la mamá de los pollitos in many senses. Like every young comedian that I know in LA mentions you. And it mentions you in such a sweet, endearing way. Like the love that they have for you, that you are the Richard Pryor to them, right? Like you are that person that they look up to. Not just for inspiration, but also that they know that they can just call you and you have their back. And that's something that's like a huge legacy that you're leaving.
That's important for me because, I had people that were there for me in comedy, like Russell Peters would put me on the road. Tiffany Haddish gave me a special. Wanda Sykes put me on Last Comic Standing, and Paige Hurwitz. I had, the Entre Nos people let me headline. I was the first woman to headline an Entre Nos special. Like that means a lot to me. But I had a lot of comedians who, Ruben Paul is like one of my closest friends that I'll go to with my jokes and say, I need help me workshop this, help me put this. I had that. And so you got to be what you want. You know, sometimes you just got to create what you want instead of complaining about it not being here. You have to be it so that so that other people can see what it looks like, because sometimes ignorance is really, really vast. And so we just got to learn to, I'm tired of complaining. I'm tired of saying, oh, they don't give us TV shows. They don't give it. I'm just going to write the shit and shoot it myself.
Do it.
Right?
Amen. Amen. And that's the thing. I think Latinos, we love that shit. Yeah. We love it. We're like, oh, there's no representation. Yeah, well, let's do something about it. Let's do more about it. And sure, there's a lot of roadblocks. Absolutely, there's roadblocks. But like, it's easier to talk about the roadblocks.
No, and it's also, a lot of us will trade visibility for power.
There's that.
We'll talk about it really and jump in line and fight and march. And then somebody says, hey, we're going to put you on this TV show. And they'll be like, okay. And then they jump off. Right. And then now everybody else is left. And then there's nobody who's willing to sacrifice for the whole, because everybody is so me. We have to, at some point, find some solidarity, and we got to make sacrifice. We got to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something, again, that stands out, and Angela talked about it. You truly are leading by example, by supporting these other young up-and-coming comedians, but also tu nivel de solidaridad. I think it was really beautiful how you ended your special honoring Tony Baker's son. We all know what happened. And I think that's when I first started crying when I saw the special. When you did that, I just...
That was hard. Serene is Tony's kids and my kids. Tony and I started comedy together at the same time. Okay. And so we both came in, younger parents with our kids, trying to be stand-up comedians and be good parents, which is really hard. And that baby, that's our baby, our community baby, our village baby, that baby belonged to all of us. And I had just seen Serene a few months before, because I was doing Tony Baker and Friends, and he was there. So, the comedy community got hit with a lot of loss. And Nick Carthen, who was one of my openers, who trained me for Last Comic Standing, was with me the weekend before he passed away, hosting for me in Washington. Fu Quan, who was one of our comics who was in the grind with me when I first started doing stand-up. And then Lisa Vidal is my sister.
Right.
And her son also we lost, who is also one of my village babies. So it was hard. I was like, damn, 4 people, like this year was such a hard year. And so I talked to everybody and said, I want to honor them. I want them to live on. I took this with me. I was doing a stand-up special during all of this happening. So I was in Vancouver when I found out about Nick passing away. And I was leaving the Laugh Factory and going to the Improv when I found out about Serene passing away. So I had to go on stage, do my set, swallow my tears, and then walk off stage and collapse. So for me, it was important to honor my brothers and my sisters in this walk, because it's all part of, people don't realize that comedians, in spite of all the pain, we got to go out and be funny. And we got to take that with us. And this was a special that was bittersweet, because I cried throughout the whole process of making it, from losing people to finding my father, to having to leave the Dominican Republic in the middle of COVID.
Sorry.
I had to leave my nieces and my nephews, which was far more than the grown-ups, knowing that people think you're rich because you do this stuff. They don't realize that I had to leave these babies in the middle of turmoil and keep going to finish this special, so that hopefully it can mean something, so that I can help change their lives. Because now that I know that they're there, I cannot live a life of abundance knowing that they are struggling in the Dominican Republic. And so it was a lot that went into this, and it will forever be the most impactful moment of my comedy career, because, mind you, I got my deal before COVID.
Right.
So I get I get this deal to do my special. COVID hits. The nation is split because of this. The previous administration. We're having racial uprisings.
Right.
We're stuck in the house. I'm working out a special on Zoom. Then I got to go out and risk my life to do so I can work out the special. It gets pushed back 3 times. And then when I go shoot it, a hurricane hits. And I don't know if you saw the lightning behind me, but that wasn't effects. That was real lightning. I was in the middle of the Bronx. The most rain that ever fell in history in the Bronx fell on the night of my taping of my special.
Damn.
So I had to do all of that. And then so people could laugh.
Right.
So it was a labor of love.
Well, let's take that thunderstorm and lightning as a blessing.
Yes, we
right?
did. We will.
And Aida Rodríguez, truly we're excited and honored to have you here. We've
had a girl crush on you forever. You're my comedic girl crush forever.
I appreciate that.
Don't miss her special HBO Max Fighting Words on November 4th. Gracias por estar aquí, Aida.
No,
we love you.
I love you back. Thank you for having me.
We're going to stalk her now. We're going to stalk her all the time.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and follow us, and follow Aida at Funny Aida on Instagram and Twitter, right?
Yeah. You can find our podcast wherever you pod, Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. You know where to find us. Have a good one.
Besos.